Hi students, today I'm going to be talking to you about how adding transitions and domain-specific language creates clarity in your writing. So let's take a look at the goals for this lesson. There are two parts to this lesson that you will need to complete. The first part is to watch the lesson portion on transitions, and then you will pause and add those transitions into your rough draft. The second part is to watch the second part of the lesson, which is specific to domain-specific vocabulary, and then you will go back and add in and define the domain-specific terms within your draft. So let's move on and start with transitions. You should already kind of know what transitions are, but let's just kind of clarify. Transitions are like the headlights that light up the path for the reader to see where they are going. They allow your reader to comprehend your writing much more easily because they create links between your ideas, and in this case it will be your evidence in your body paragraph. Transitions may be small, but they are a mighty force for creating clear writing. Now, if you look here, you can stop the video and go to this slide and click here for an additional video on using evidence and transitions to create clarity in your writing. So after you're done, you can continue on with the lesson, and the next slide will tell you where you need to include them. So transitions need to be included at the beginning or end of your paragraphs, at the beginning of sentences in your paragraphs, as well as in the middle of compound and complex sentences. So here we have an example of where you need to put them specifically. So transition sentences are needed to connect body paragraphs and or pieces of evidence together. So in our case, since we only have one body paragraph, you'll be including all of these transitions between your evidence as you present them, which essentially is your discussion points from your thesis. So that means you will literally have at least 1, 2, 3, 4 transitions within your body paragraph at minimum. So on this slide, you can see that there are many different types of transitions. You have transitions for time, transitions for addition or adding an additional thought, transitions for illustration or examples. So this would be a really great one as you are presenting your evidence. And then as you're wrapping up your body paragraph, you have transitions for summary. So you'll probably want to use this particular slide as you go through and add in the transitions to your body paragraph draft. There are additional ones for contrasting, as well as for comparing, for clarification, for cause, for effect, and for intensification. This might be another good one that you want to use to really drive your points home to prove your thesis. So what are some other ways that you can create clarity or cohesion in your writing? You can do this by repeating a key word. So repeating a key word from one sentence to the next helps kind of join them together and solidify this idea in the reader's head. And you can use a variation of the word or a synonym. So for example, if I was to say that penguins rely on a diet of fish, my next sentence would repeat the word fish, but I would use a synonym and instead say, sea creatures include krill and squid. And notice that fish and sea creatures are obviously synonyms, and you can use this repeated word to link ideas together between sentences and or paragraphs. So see if maybe you can try and do this at least once or twice within your body paragraph. Okay, so let's talk about part 1 of your assignment right now. What you're going to do is you're going to pull up your draft right now, and you're going to use the graphic organizer of all of those different transitions that I just presented to you to add in transitions to your draft. So you'll need to add in a transition at the beginning of your body paragraph. You'll need to add in transitions before presenting each new piece of evidence. You'll need to add in a transition sentence at the end of your body paragraph. And then if you have any compound or complex sentences, you'll also need one there. So what you want to do is you'll go ahead and pause this video right now and do that as your first part of your assignment. And when you're ready to continue, come on back and continue the video. The second portion of today's lesson has to do with domain-specific vocabulary. So if I was to show you this group of words here for each group, would you be able to tell me what each one has in common? It's pretty simple. Obviously, you can tell that this first group of words, everything that they have in common has to do with soccer. Or this second group of words, metaphor, simile, personification, allegory. Hopefully you would recognize those as oh my goodness, I'm blanking, as figurative language, sorry. And then lastly, feathers, wings, beaks, and talons. Obviously, that all has to do with birds, maybe even specifically with penguins. So, each of these groups of words help to describe a particular thing. They are examples of domain-specific vocabulary or special words that are used to talk about a particular subject. Using this domain-specific vocabulary helps to establish credibility, which means that people trust you. It creates credibility for the writer and helps to maintain a more formal tone in your writing. So what you need to do is to define these types of words for the reader, especially if they're not common knowledge terms. Let me give you an example of this. If you were to read through this portion about Antarctic penguins, there are some specific terms that would be considered domain specific. Go ahead and pause your video right now and read through this paragraph and see if there's one specific word that pops out to you that would be something that's considered domain specific that only somebody who's really knowledgeable about this topic would know. So go ahead and pause and read right now. Now, when you come back, what you should see popping out at you right away is the word rookery. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't real sure what a rookery was as I read through this whole thing. By the end of it, I could kind of use some context clues to figure it out, but you'll notice it's used over 4 different times within this paragraph. This is considered a word that would be domain specific to the idea of penguins. So why would it be important for the writer of this paragraph to define this word? Well, it's going to help your reader understand what's going on. So if you don't do that, you could leave them going, I don't know what I just read. And I'm sure many of you have been in that position before. We want to create clarity and cohesion for our readers. So a text has cohesion if it's clearly organized so that readers can find their way around, and it includes words and phrases that act like signposts that help readers to follow the author's train of thought, and it holds the writing together and it's easy to understand. So if you have specific vocabulary or domain-specific vocabulary in your writing, specifically in your body paragraph, that's not clearly or widely known, this may be an example of a domain-specific term that you need to go back and define for your reader. So what we'd like you to do today is look back through your rough draft of your body paragraph and look to see, do I have domain-specific vocabulary? And if you do, and I would like everybody to at least shoot for 1 word, if not 2, domain-specific vocabulary that you could include in your text, okay? And then secondly, what words would you want to make sure you define for your reader? Again, here shoot for at least 1, maybe 2, that would help to create clarity in your writing. So here is part 2 of your assignment. You're going to return to your draft again. Now this says to highlight or underline or circle. We're not requiring you to do that. However, we are requiring you to at least have 1 domain-specific word that you could include that connects to your topic, and then define it within your paper, maybe in the introduction, maybe at the beginning of your body paragraph, so that you're clarifying for your reader and creating that cohesion that we've talked about in this lesson. Okay, folks, if you have questions regarding this lesson, please feel free to reach out to one of your teachers. Otherwise, that is your assignment for today, to include these transitional words and domain-specific vocabulary within your introduction and body paragraphs. Thanks and have a great day.